Okay, welcome to Stock Analysis Friday. Great to have everybody here on this January 25th, 2025. All right, markets are kind of flat a little bit today, a little bit up, but not much. All right, so we're going to go over all that. I do want to cover Bitcoin today as well. So go ahead, you can start now. Type in your stocks and caps. Let's do what, 3 at a time. And let me know if you're long, short, or thinking about a trade. That way I can kind of customize the explanation personally to you. All right, so let me go ahead and go through some administrational items here. So give me 1 second and off we go here. All right, first thing to talk about are the risks involved in trading. Like I always say, without that risk, there is no opportunity. And that goes for everything we do in life, right? But in any case, you want to be aware of the risk. You always want to trade with money you can afford to risk, called risk capital. Know how to do risk control on each and every trade. I got a couple books on that I'll share with you in a moment if you need help in that area. And then also to run anything that we suggest or I suggest here past your financial advisor or whoever manages your money, because I don't know your personal situation and they certainly do. And there's no guarantees in any type of forecast that I do because we always deal in a realm of probability. So you have to use risk control on each and every trade. All right, a couple books here. Like I mentioned before, I want to go over real quick. Books on money management. This will help you control your risk on each and every trade. So that might be a good place to go if you don't know how to do that. Also, too, Elliott Wave Techniques is a form of technical analysis. That book I published a little while back by McGraw-Hill. And then my newest book, The Art of Trading, came out this year, published by Wiley. That's a big boy, 608 pages long, covers everything you need to know about trading the financial markets, and also a little bit about our software too. Then we have the survival guide for traders as well. All right, software, speaking of it, here it is. We've got charting software on the top row, scanners in the middle, and risk control on the bottom. And it's called the Art Trading Software. And so that you can go to our website. And we're also redoing our website. So we're going to have a new website in a couple weeks. So we're pretty excited about that. And also a new Discord channel. So we'll be letting you know more about that as we get closer to the release of that. And then finally, give us a like. We appreciate that. It helps the channel, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so let me come out of here. And I just want to start off with a quick review on the markets overall. And, you know, I looked at the NASDAQ. We can do that too, and the S&P. But just a quick review of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So like I said before, we had a little bit of an area here where we had some structure that I put in gray. And this chart's the daily chart, just so you know. And this chart is the weekly chart. So it's kind of like the long-term look. This is the shorter or intermediate term look. All right, so this was structure here. So I'll just put ST for structure. We had a little bit of consolidation here. It also was a little bit of a fair value gap here as well. And notice how prices came down, filled that gap, and now the next leg up. So usually when you have a micro channel like this, which is kind of what we have, and this doesn't matter if it's on the Dow or any index or any stock or futures, when you have a micro channel like that, usually you get another leg up. And so usually after a quick little ABC, which we had completed there perfectly in the structure, we are now in the next leg up. So I drew some quick fibs just to see where this next leg should end. And I'm seeing around 45, 495 up to 46, 558. And so that's kind of where I think the market's trying to get before it does its next pullback. On the weekly chart over here on the far right, we've got a target, large target area. This is an Elliott Wave 5 target area, by the way. Actually, it's an Elliott Wave 3 target. This would be a 5 somewhere over here when this ends. But the idea behind this is that this is the target for a major top going all the way back to 2009. I mean, that's how long really we've been in this bull market. Yes, it's been interrupted by the COVID situation, but that was kind of more of an aberration than anything else. And then the market formed a V and returned up high. So this bull market, for the most part, has been going on since 2009. And so that's the target. So we're getting closer and closer to a major top, I think, in the markets. It's hard to know exactly how high it will go. Everything's in zones, but be aware of that. I guess my strategy would be is that I probably would kind of hold back on long-term investments until the next major sell-off, especially if you're older in age. If you're younger in age, you probably got time on your side, so it won't really matter. But nonetheless, you kind of want to be smart about not buying near a top, right? So I would kind of think about that, because if you do get a really good sell-off here, and I'm talking pretty decent, almost down to the COVID lows again, once that could happen, then you can pick up some real bargains at that point. But anyway, leave that as a bait. All right, and the NASDAQ and the S&P have made new highs already, and they're kind of in a similar situation. So I'm not going to show those charts and take too much time on that. But by the way, if you're interested in this kind of analysis, I do it every week on Sunday, and I have a great service called the MOR Report. And it is a report that I come out on Sunday that prepares you for the upcoming week, but it also has stock picks too that we update. And we cover all the indexes. So we go over in great detail, as well as crypto and the real estate market. So that may interest you. All right, really quick, speaking of crypto, let's just take a quick look on this. Boy, I sure hope you guys listened to me when I mentioned this was a buy zone back in here in the spring. Because if you did, and I know some of you did, you certainly have been rewarded for that. All right, so the target on Bitcoin still holds at 127 to 159. We've got a green PTF, which is one of our indicators here, indicating the top's not in. And that indicator has a 75% accuracy rate. And basically how you use it is that whatever the high is in that area, and that was this point up here, we should return and go higher. Now, a couple things. We had a structured fair value gap here in gray. Hopefully you can see this okay. And we pulled back down to that. We'll see if we get a bounce now off here. We did close, or we may close or may not close, depending on today's activity on this trend line. So we'll see how that goes. But we're expecting more highs. We even got the fair value gap over here. So we'll see how that goes. Now, if we close below the order block, which is right here below the fair value gap, then that we'll take a look at. But sometimes you go down and touch that order block and bounce back up. But anyway, in crypto, I'm holding mine. So I'm suggesting you holding yours. The target is 127 again to 159. So that's in this area here. And if you're a trader, you're going to be selling crypto up here, not buying. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, so that is that. All right, let's move on and see what you guys got for me today. All right, first one up, Al. How are you, Al? All right, roast, R-O-S-T, roast. Let's see what's cooking on roast. So Al's asking me basically here, he's giving me a question mark long. So we will see how we do there. All right, so. All right, let's see what we got cooking here, Al, for you. Looked at this last time. All right, so we got a fair value gap here on the weekly chart. And we have a move up now on the weekly chart. Let's see what we got cooking in terms of, we took out a little bit of liquidity down here. All right, I'm saying no on this, okay? And the reason being is that I'm not so sure this is a bottom. Certainly could be, but I don't see any fair value gaps over here to take me to the lower time frame for analysis. So I'm thinking maybe this could be a false move up followed by more until we get down here. If we get down here, down to this fair value gap, go to this order block, take out this liquidity again here, I wouldn't doubt it. Okay, so I'm kind of thinking no on that. FUN, take a look at that. Give that a second to load. All right, so the PTF just went yellow recently on a bullish price bar that took out equity on the weekly chart. I like that. See that? Bada boom. Okay, so that's good. We had a fair value gap here. I would have liked to have seen a close above that to turn it into an inversion fair value gap. Let's see what we got on the daily chart. Here's my recommendation on this. This may be a good trade to the upside. This current price bar here, the most recent one, bearish, concerns me a little bit. I'd like to see how that ends. Let me just see what we got cooking on that. Give me a second. Let me just do this. All right, so on that price bar there, that's where we had a high of 33.5. Okay, and here, that's that high there, and today's price bar is there. I'm kind of thinking the day's not over. Let's see how that price bar closes. You always got to wait for the close. But that's a bearish bar. So if it closes down here, I'd say hold off. We still got a fairly significant bearish owl here. So that's a little concern. We didn't have much volume that I like to see at a bottom there. So I'm thinking maybe too early to go long. And also, too, what you can do is do this. Wait for a pyramid to form to the upside, okay? Bullish one. And then go long there. And your chances of a bottom being in are better there. So no go on that one. Let's take a look at your next one. And how I analyze these daily and weekly charts is exactly what I do on the day trading charts as well when we're looking to take trades. Okay, so, all right, a little bit more bullishness present here. I like this one better. You can see the pyramid entry over here. Okay, so your ideal entry would have been back in here, but that's okay. And you also had a nice entry here and here. We have green, green. All right, so let's take a look and see what most likely could happen here. You got a fair value gap here, which I like. All right, you also got one under it, which is also interesting right here. Okay, you got some form of order block here, right here. Okay, on this chart here, we have a fair value gap here that has been slightly mitigated. On this one here, we have not mitigated this one or this one. So it's always tricky when you got two, right? Because you don't know if it's going to stop here or keep going here and bounce out. So in this case here, we're pulling back a little bit here. I would say, personally, the way I would operate this is see if this comes down here, see if it gets below this fair value gap. If it does, you don't want to go in it until maybe we come back to here or we see a pattern of bullishness coming back after it's been totally mitigated. So in this case here, again, I would hold off. I like the long trade. I think it's a great potential. But being a trader, I would wait for those areas to be reached or touched, and then look for a bounce off that, which would be representative of a bullish pin bar wick, probably reaching into the mitigated area. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, so on this one here, got to be a little bit careful because now we got to determine which fair value gap was going to hold. And if you really want to be safe, lower your trade size and put it under the order block down there at 6.97. But that's pretty far away. All right, so let's put this on a watch list right now, okay? But this is the best one out of all of them. And Alan's not done. He's back. All right, short this time. All right, CORT. Let's take a look at this. Court. All right, I don't go against the PTF, especially when it's green, okay? If anything, I would look for a bottom here and go long. On the weekly chart, we have a little more clarity here that could support a short position. All right, so we're already in the short target zone. I'd be looking for a long. It's not ready for a long, but I'd be looking for a long. In fact, I'm going to put this on the buy side watch list, okay? Let's take a look at your next one, WST. WST. All right, big gap up. All right. That always makes me nervous, right? In terms of chasing a market. Well, you have a real gap here. Okay, here it is, right? Obviously, it's not a fair value gap. That's just a huge gap. I guess some people could call it that. Gaps like this, just like fair value gaps, normally get filled, right? So we're starting to come into it. Let's just see if there's any previous structure here. All right, we had pretty good volume on this top here. So that's interesting. A lot of people took profits, I guess, that might have been already long. We filled this fair value gap, or this gap over here. So what's to say we can't go down from here? All right, so that may be the other point. So no, okay, no on this one. All right, because I'm not sure what exactly it's going to do. And now we've got a green PTF. So too many ifs. EXAS. Let's take a look at that one. All right, green PTF coming down on the weekly a little bit. Let's see if we got any structure here. We took out the, did we take out the liquidity here? So let's see, we got a low of 40.62 and 41.96. So we really didn't, looks like we took it out though. Yeah, we probably did. Okay. All right. So let me just see what else is cooking here. We got a fair value gap here, but that's before the change in structure. So, all right. Let's see what the daily chart shows. Gap here and here. Okay. So we're right at the gap level here. Okay, for there. So we want to see a turnaround here. If you get below this gap, the problem is it turns from support to resistance. So it might be something like that if you get below it. It closes below. So it looks like it may be starting to turn around here. And we've had an A, B, C leg down. So we'd like to see that. So I think it looks pretty good here. I'm trying to see if we could extend, might even be able to extend that fair value. This may actually be not only that, but let's see if we extend. I'd have to redraw it. Hold on a second. All right, let's see what we got here. Thinking here. No, I guess that, yeah, all right, I see. All right, this is kind of tricky. Okay, so maybe fair value gap from here up to here could be possible. All right, so I would let's wait for a turnaround. You still got a bearish owl, so momentum's still a little bearish, but to me it looks like we may be turning around. My only thing on this, there's a couple things, is that I like, it's the end of an ABC pattern. It's ending inside the gap area. We're seeing a little bit of resistance selling down again. My only problem is that usually when you have 3 bars like that in a row and you have this like wedge, you usually get one more leg down. All right, so be a little careful on that one. So I would not do that one either. Okay, because you know at this point it could go up or down. All right, let's keep going here. Edward, how are you? Good to have you here. All right, ASML. Let's take a look at this one. He's up 6%. And it is coming down. All right. Let's see what's cooking. I don't like the red PTF ad on this one. See the chart here? And that means that there is a 75% probability we may go down here. Now, if this breaches again down here, then this target is no longer the current one. It's whatever the current target is reached there. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. I'm thinking here, trying to figure out a reason to be long, and I don't see one. Okay. This is bearish over here. Okay. So if you're short-term trading this, I probably would dump it. Okay. There is a chance. Let's just do some fibs. You're in the fib area. You could get a bounce here. You could get a bounce back up around maybe 760 before it sells off, or it could keep going down from here into this area here. But I guess it's your call, but it's not something that looks good long term in terms right now. Now, things may change. We may see it, you know, if you dumped it here and it moves up and it comes down here and this turns to green or goes to yellow, then I'd say go long again. But right now, what I'm looking at the dashboard is bearish. All right, SOUN. Let's take a look at that. You're up 2% on this one. All right, breakout from here. So this one here, a little more comfortable on a long position here. Got the pyramid for your stop. If you want to give it more room, you can go back here. Let me see if I see any fair value gaps. I see one here and here. You had structure here. So I think your next biggest problem, you took out that, volume was higher on that one, then you kind of took it out again. You may pull back a little bit on this, but I don't think much. And I think the next area of structure is anywhere in here. So we kind of got close to that, right? That area there. And the next major liquidity is here and up here on the pyramid here. So I'd stay long. Okay, this one's okay. If you're long on this one, I'd stay with it. Okay, let's take a look at IRDM. All right, are you still up 3% after this big pullback? Okay, you got a red PTF. All right, I would dump it. Okay, take the 3% and get out unless you're short. If you're short, stay with it. But you'll probably get a retracement, but you should get more downside. So Al, this would be a better short candidate with a stop way above here. So listen, a couple things. Let's say you wanted to go short, you put your stop here, okay? That's a low probability trade, all right? Anytime the risk to reward is really tight like that, you can get wiggled out of it, even though the probability of this trade to the downside is high. So you need to put your stop in here. You need to have more, you know, unfortunately, more risk. That means if you're going to do 2 to 1, you need to get down to this area here. But that's the way the markets work, okay? If you're going for just a quick scalp here and here, that's actually a low probability trade because the chances are you'll be stopped out before you actually hit the target. The better trade is putting your stop up there and going for at least a price bar equivalent, okay? 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 2, preferably, all right? On the weekly chart, let's just take a look and see if you can get the 1 to 2. All right. You've got equity down here and here. They may be running that. So, you know, that's the deal with that. Could go down to this area here. So 1.5 to 2 maybe. That's the problem with the big price bars, is that kind of makes more of the risk reward a little more difficult. All right, let's keep going here. And Ed is back. Oh, Coinbase. Let's take a look at that. Up 98%. I can see why, right? Good job on that. All right, so you're up 100%. We got a green PTF on both the weekly and also the daily. So more highs are coming. Looks like we're going to see a little bit of a pullback. We're in the target. You know, I don't know about you, but when I hit a target and see a retracement a little bit, there's a really strong chance of more highs here, and I'll show you why in just a moment. But there's nothing wrong with taking a little off the table either, okay? I don't know how much of this you have. But, you know, you can do that and then breathe a little bit easier if you're feeling a little bit stressed. I'm not saying you are, but if you are, that's one way to handle that. All right, so let's take a look here. So what do we got up here? We got a micro channel, don't we here? So what did I say about a micro channel? When you have a micro channel, okay, and I'm just going to draw it like this. All right, any pullback, usually, not always, usually, a pullback in a micro channel is all that is, and it will resume back to the upside. So that's kind of, you know, that's not unusual to see a pullback in it. It usually is not that bad, but we do have some fair value gaps that it may be shooting for. All right, so maybe one here already. I mean, it's practically there, I guess, close to it there. And then we have one here, and then I'll take a look at the daily chart on this. And this one is definitely here and here. And so we got another one here and here, right? So we got riddled with fair value gaps, which actually can kind of make it more difficult because you got to know where it's going to stop. So this one here, if we get on the bottom of this one here, then it's probably going to this one. But my gut feeling here is, and we had a trend line from last week on this, so if you wanted to scale out, that's why we had the trend line on the daily chart. But we have a green PTF on both time frames. So more highs are probably coming. You could probably do something like this. And what is that, everybody? That's a bull flag possibly forming, okay? The more price bars that occur in a bull flag, the worse it is, okay? But because then it could be more of a fib retracement versus a slight pullback. So we'll have to see. So in any case, that's kind of where we're at. We have structure here. So if this thing decides to pull back a little bit more, I'll use a box for structure right there. So we got structure there. All right, so that is right around the 348. The 348, you know, is right around in this area here, right? Between here and here. So that'll be interesting to see if that stops it. And then we have some more fair value gaps as that. Well, I would stay with it, okay? I wouldn't panic out of it. I would just stay with it. All right, RGEN. But don't be surprised if it pulls back a little bit. All right, RGEN. Let's see what we got here. And both potential buys. Okay, so you're looking at a buy here. Okay, so no red PTFs. That's the first thing I kind of eye on. No active bearish pyramids. I think they've all been stopped out. There's no bullish ones. Those have been stopped out. So we're kind of in a channel a little bit right now. And let's see. We have a bearish fair value gap here. Right? So let's see how that was. That was right in here. So we kind of gnawed into that. We're gnawing up there again into it. So I'd like to see us get on top of that. But yeah, I think it's not looking too bad. I think I'd wait for the owl on the daily to at least turn green. And hopefully if it does that, prices will get above the gap. If they close above the gap, that's a buy, okay? If the gap holds and we come back down, we may go down again. And we may take out this equity, which would be this bottom again before turning around. Okay, that's possible. All right, so I kind of would wait on that one. All right, that's RGEN. Let's see about OKTA. OKTA. All right, so this is one we looked at before. Notice we got above the fair value gap there. That's a good sign. It also here was, that was the bearish one. We had a bullish one down here. We may be having a bullish one form. It's too early to tell on this weekly chart, but we do have a strong bearish one up here we got to get above, which is right here. So if we draw this here like this, that's a pretty strong bearish gap. Let's see the context this is coming in. Ooh, okay, so that's a little concerning there. All right, so here's my problem with this. I'm thinking that maybe that may get to the fib area, but we got to get through that bearish fair value gap. But actually, if this is a 3 here, 4, 5, you know, eventually coming down there. Let's just see if I got enough. Yeah, it's not that much price history. Okay. So we could get into this target, but after this, we are subject to selling. Okay. So we have to, you know, we'll have to see. There's not enough history. Now, if on the weekly chart, you've got a buy in place. I'm a little bit, I don't like chasing markets. And to me, this is chasing a market at this point. If I had gotten in here and this close, you could add another one here. But again, you know, you have structure here. So I don't know how much further this is going to go. So I'd say no. I think you may be able to find a better one at this point, just simply because the entry may be a little bit late. And I'm not sure we're going to get above that fair value gap. Okay. A little bit of a tough one. All right. Ed is back. MU. Micron. Let's see what that's doing now. And he's up 27% there. Okay. So Micron pulling back into a fib area, it looks like. I think that's a bullish flag, a little too many price bars. But let's see what we got. We got an A, B, C. I'm liking that. I'd like it to get a little bit deeper into there. Equity sitting under there. I think we got a little further to go, and this fair value gap is showing more structure. How do I want to draw that? In here. Okay, that's where some structure is right there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we gnaw into that fair value gap before we see a turnaround. Okay, so this one you're up 27. If you don't mind holding on to it during a little bit more of a pullback, maybe into the upper 90s, 95 range maybe, before it turns around, I would just hold it. Otherwise, you know, again, it should make more highs. So I'm not concerned about it at this particular point. So kind of a fun one to look at. It will be a buy. Let's put this on a, I'm thinking, let's put this on a buy watch list, because if it comes down into this gap area and we see bullishness return, that may be a good place to buy it. Okay. All right, let's take a look at your next one, COHR, and you're up 60%. Ed, you should be getting ready to retire here, man. You're doing good. All right, so let's see what we got here. All right, so nice move up. PTFs are yellow, possibly will turn green if this thing shows enough more power up here. Let's take a look and see what we got cooking. Got to get above this area here. We're right in structure now. Let me just see if there's anything here. What are you up on this one? 60%. I have to be honest with you. I think you'll probably get another high, because this is kind of a micro channel. It looks like we have a pullback. But I'm thinking here, be on the safe side, maybe scale out a little bit and have your stop at the most recent pyramid. But that's kind of, I think, maybe not a bad idea in case this thing stalls here and comes back down. I don't think it will. I think we're probably going to make more highs, but it may pull back a little bit. I think you're okay on this one, but it is getting up to an area where you could have a pullback. Now, if you don't mind the pullback, you just hold it. But since you're up 60%, you may want to take a little bit off, okay? DELL. All right, let's see what Dell's doing here. Okay, so Dell made a classic bottom here, right at structure. Took out this equity. All right, took out some here and took out this equity too. So, you know, these areas of structure become really powerful when the market also takes out equity. Okay, so that's really important. So this looks to me really good, like we're going to make new highs here. Okay, so this one here, again, I think you can hold this one for up to, it should get above 180. Okay, let's just see here. Let's just draw this in. And let's do a fib extension just to kind of take a look at stuff here. Okay, so the PTF high is probably where you want to start having that stop real tight, okay? All right, so 178 you should reach. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to get a pullback before you get up there, but that's all it should be, is a pullback. All right, and a possible pullback, you know, could be down into this structured area here or here. So it may end here, or it may dig deeper into the fib and end here before it goes up. Okay. Again, all right, if that makes you nervous, just draw a trend line like that. And if it goes below the trend line, scale out a little bit. Okay. I'll leave that up to you and how you want to manage it. But I do think it's going to make new highs. All right. Let's see. All right, Stuart, how are you, Stuart? All right, so BETR. Let's see what you got cooking. Oh man, Stuart, this one's a wild one. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so what? I don't know what happened back in July of what was that, 23? But boy, that didn't shoot up too much. Just about 10,000%. All right, so let's see where we're going on this one here. Okay, so trying to figure out that was an IPO open there. Okay, that's why it shot up. Not a lot of history on this, Stuart, which makes it difficult for me to put an Elliott wave count on this thing. So I don't know if you're in it or thinking about in it. I think I'd pass. Okay. Let me take a look at your next one. MHO. All right. So this one looks a little better to me. All right. So we took out equity here, came down. You do have some more structure here. Let's see if how far it came down on the fib. Oh, wrong one. All right, so it hit the fib. We're looking pretty good there. Went down and filled that fair value gap there. Yeah, I like this one. This one's a go. I'm going to put this on the buy list, MHO. All right, so where is this going? It should break out and make a new high. All right, it's not going to happen quickly because that's a long-term chart. So I'm thinking maybe you're going to have to make this a long-term hold. So 184 to 235 could take years to get there, though. I think short term, little pullback here into the gap area here, and then we have structure here. So probably this will be a little bit of resistance there at that point. So if I was scalping this, I would probably think about exiting at that gray area, okay? And put my stop under this order block, a little higher than the pyramid. Okay, so that's MHO. All right, long-term new highs, okay? short term to that gray area. All right, KBH. All right, let's take a look at the fibs again on this one. Sweet. All right, let's take a look here. We've got structure. We've gnawed into that fair value gap. It turned around right at the top of that structured area here. Don't know if you can see it. That's an order block right there. Right there. Okay, so that's a good sign, but we have a pretty big fair value gap here. Did we take out equity on that too? Yeah, we did. Okay, good. All right, so we got equity out of there. Yeah, I think the PTFs are yellow, so they're not helping us right now. Let me just get this up here a little bit more. All right, pull that up there. We got kind of a change in structure, so we got breakout, breakout, breakout. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. I think you got to put your stop here at the bottom, okay? So let's put KBH, and I would anticipate that making high. So once again, long term, you should make a high on that. Short term, we'll take a look. So 89.5 to 114 for a long-term target. And we've got structure sitting right about here. So I would say probably look for some resistance here. So that would be a short-term possible scalping target. Okay, that's KBH. All right, thanks, Stuart. So we got KBH for both a long and even a short-term one. Okay. All right, so Eleanor, how are you? All right, let's take a look what we got here. GCT, I think we looked at this one last week. Let's see how this is doing. Okay, so again, this is one that came down to the fib area, and that was a buy zone here. Okay, so I think I think I'd wait for the next pullback. Okay, and you'll get one, or even just wait for a bear bull. You're starting to get the setup of a bull flag, which is kind of interesting. So you could take that. We should see an equal distance leg up. So you've had the ABC, you had resistance here. So I'm thinking here, a little volume here on that top. That's a kind of might be turning into a bearish bar here at structure here. So you may get a pullback again a little bit into this area here. But so I wouldn't buy it now unless you have a breakout of that bull flag for one more high, okay? And basically, if you get that, then you might have one more leg up with a minimum leg of a measured distance on this bar of 27.61, okay? And if you get a measured distance on this move to here, it'll be a little bit higher, okay? So, it depends how you want to operate it. That's GCT. All right, so I kind of think, what you're probably looking for is something with a little bit more movement. So I'd wait for the pullback, and let's look at it and see if it can get down into this gray area. Then I think you'll have a nice, cleaner trade. All right, CRWV. Glad you mentioned this one. All right, this is a good one. Okay, so see this one here. I got a couple clients looking at this one too, as well as myself. But this one too, notice how this is a bearish fair value gap, okay? Prices came up, did not get above it, and instead came down to this structured area with an order block here. So it's still not turned around yet. And that's a bearish weekly chart still. All right, there's a lot of people, especially if they follow Al Brooks, that would be selling this type of stuff at the end of the price bar, okay? So you don't want to go against the sells right now until this thing turns around. So, and it will, but it hasn't done it yet. My guess is we're going to take this equity out here, okay, below this price bar. It may be violent. You may get even a big wick down here and take this equity out here and fill that gap there. You never know. But that's what I'd be looking for, a nice, they call it a pen bar, bullish pen bar, something like this. Wait for that to form, and then you can go long after that. All right, and it may take a few price bars before you get that. But I would wait now for the disaster bar, I would call it, and then go up, okay, from there. So let's put this on a watch list because it's getting closer, but I don't think it's quite done yet. All right, let's take a look at our next one, which is BROS. All right, so this is another one that we were hoping would stop here, okay, but it didn't. Close below, that's bearish. So where's the next stop? All right, that's a bearish bar on the weekly. So no long positions yet, okay. We're in an area here, a little bit of an order block structure here. We just took out equity. That's a good sign. We've got more equity down here and here. Usually, not always, usually you want to see it take out at least one equity, so it did that. But when you have others close, I never get surprised that they take out that equity before going back up. Okay, and don't think they don't do that, because they do. Okay, so in this case here, all right, we want to remove that. I wouldn't do anything with that. That's a bearish bar. Let's see, you know, we may get, let's see if we get a pen bar, bullish pen bar now, or if we get follow through and it stays bearish. Currently, this bar is bearish and this bar is bearish. And if we do an equal move on this bar, we're talking about taking equity out here and here, okay? So I'd be careful here. So once the equity is taken out down here, we may get a nice little entry for a long trade at that point, but it's kind of too late, I think, to go short, and the pyramids would have had you in much earlier, but at this particular point here, look at this bar here. That's a bearish pen bar. And look at the volume that occurred on. As short-term traders, we look for that. That's where you want to take profits on your long trade, right? And then think about getting into a short trade, okay? So that's the place to have done it, up in here, even if you did it at the bottom of this price bar, okay? So no go on that, but let's bring it back next week, okay? Thank you, owner. Good. All right, we'll wrap it up here pretty soon. We've got Al is back with DKNG. DKNG. All right, so let's see what we got here. All right, had a bullish pyramid earlier here. Okay, we got history going back to 2019. Kind of in a dang range a little bit though on that weekly chart. See, we're not ranging here. This is a bullish trend with a high here. So Al, if you want to go long here, I don't know if you're going to have a 2-to-1 risk to reward, because here's the target based on the PTF. So, I mean, you got a lot of room there. You'd have to put your stop on this pyramid here, and that may give you 2-to-1. I guess that's okay. All right. Cleared that before. Got a bearish one sitting here. Here's what can happen with this, okay? You're going to have a fair value gap here, right? Then you're going to have probably a move down. You might get a better entry if you wait for the move down, okay? I think I put this on hold a little bit right now. The ideal entry would have been this pyramid here, but for right now, you're okay, okay? I think this has potential to breach the high because you have a fair value gap here, and you had one here, it mitigated, and then pulled up. I'd say the chances of getting up here are high, okay? Most people that would do this is called ICT. What they would do is they have that gap here, fair value gap here. They wait for that to get filled here, mitigated, and then it moves up with their take profit up here, okay? But you probably will get a little bit of a pullback soon on this. All right. If you want to go in now, you can put your stop down here and exit when you get above the red line. That's possible. Okay. All right. Stu is back with Loco. Crazy stuff. It's Loco, right? All right. So let's see what we got here. All right. Green PTF. So we should, unless it changes, 25% of the time it's wrong, don't forget. All right, so we're talking 14 bucks. We're at 10. Pulling back a little bit. All right, because I'm not going to meet with you until next week. All right, I would imagine we'll pull back, take out equity here. If we don't and spring up, that's a good sign, okay? So if you wanted to enter now, put your stop under here. Okay, and get out if you get stopped out. Because then the next area is here. Okay. And then if that's the case, just wait for it to turn around and go back in. All right. Nice thing is when you get stopped out, you can always go back in. All right. Sometimes I get stopped out and then 4 or 5 price bars later, there's a reason to get back in. Okay. So there's nothing wrong with that. You got to protect your downside. So if you want to go in here, that's fine. But don't be surprised if we take this out and this out. So your stop, does need to go under here at the very, very least. Okay. I'll leave that up to you. All right. Let's see. mRNA. Derma. Okay. Let's see how this one's looking. All right. So we looked at this before. We were waiting for a breakout of this structure. We got it. Right. So we've got this thing almost turning green here. So look at the bullish divergence. You see that on the histogram? That's the owl. So that's a good sign. All right. Worst case scenario on this. Well, I shouldn't say that. Worst case probable scenario is 78 to 113. So that's a double your money one. So I'm thinking, yeah, not looking too bad. Question is, where's your stop going to have to be to get you there? All right. So we don't have any stop here except the bottom here. Got a little bit of a pullback here. So let's see, what is that? 24. That's 10 points. So your risk to reward is fine on that. Yeah, I put your stop as low as you could. You could even put it at the bottom on the weekly chart. That doesn't mean it's going to get there tomorrow because that's a weekly chart. But that would be a bullish play, okay? Short term, okay, we met a little resistance here. So you got structure here. So I think you're probably pretty good to there. So if you want to put your stop under this low here and take profits up in this area, you could do that. That's 2 to 1. Okay. So I'm not going to put this as a buy, but that's the deal on that. Okay. All right. I think we've gone through them all. Good. It's time to wrap it up. A little longer session than normal, but boy, these were great stocks. All right. So let me cut the cam on if I can figure out how to do that. All right, I think I got it. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go over the goods today. We got two good ones, MHO and KBH. On the watch list, we got BYON, CORT, MU, and CRWV. So we're going to watch those, bring those back next week. All right, everybody, have a great week. We'll see you back here next Friday. Thank you for all the likes, and have a great weekend.